time at Roadkill Garage, the Crusher Camaro is back on track.
Dulcich, behold the glory!
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
The Crusher Camaro, our most historic project vehicle, actually. Do you know this thing's been around Hot Rod Magazine for now 25 years?
Well, yeah, you saved it from the Crusher.
I know. Let me give you a rundown of what the Crusher Camaro is, aside from a 1967 Chevy Camaro. The engine that we're dealing with here is 400 cubic inches of Blueprint Engines long block. It's a crate motor. However, we changed the cam in it. It's got a Comp Cams 242 at 50 hydraulic roller, and we put a tunnel ram on the thing. You can see it in the very first episode of Engine Masters, where it made a little bit more than 550 horsepower. Now, the transmission is a Turbo 350 from Gearstar, and it is full manual reverse valve body. It's got a yank converter in it that will go to 5,000 RPM stall. It's got a trans brake, and out back, we've got a Mosier aluminum center section with a spool and 457 gears. This thing's basically stock suspension, leaf spring slapper bars, QA1 shocks all the way around, and a 29-inch slick on the back. And man, am I hoping it runs better than its previous best of 1076.
So why is the hood open?
Yeah, then it sat at my house for a couple years, which, by the way, is why we're here at my place instead of Steve's this time. This will be the first Roadkill Garage that we haven't shot at Roadkill Garage.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrench on this thing here because the problem is it has no oil pressure.
You sure about that?
Two different gauges agree that it has no oil pressure, so we got to figure out what's up with that. I don't know what this episode is going to hold. You're going to see us troubleshooting, trying to figure out why it has no oil pressure, and that might mean getting the engine out of the car. It might mean a new engine. I don't know how trash this thing could be. I don't know if I made a full pass with it with no oil pressure.
I bet you it's okay.
Yeah, probably.
I could be wrong.
I hope so. So take the hood off.
Yeah, let's get started.
It ran, so we know that the distributor is turning. Should we pull it out and see if the bottom of it is messed up?
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
The oil pump is driven off the bottom of the distributor gear here. There's a drive shaft that goes into this tang down to the pump and spins it. One thing I'm seeing, Steve, is look at the wear pattern on that gear and tell me what you see. The first thing I'm noticing on the gear of that distributor is that the contact wear pattern where it meshes with the camshaft is not on the entire sweep of the gear tooth. It's just showing silver right at the end. And I noticed that that's a slip collar distributor, meaning that it has a collar on it that can be loosened so the distributor can be moved up and down. I wonder if the distributor kicked up.
The distributor might have been too high from the get-go, barely engaging the tang here.
Yep.
Whereby after a while, it just slipped off of there.
Right.
Well, we'll find out momentarily once we use the priming tool.
All right, so we know that we got a problem with the gear engagement. I'm pretty sure I just discovered what's going on here is that the distributor just popped right out of that oil pump drive shaft. To find out, we are gonna use this MSD distributor tool in order to spin the oil pump and lube the engine, hopefully, and we will watch that gauge right there and see if we've got any kind of oil pressure.
All right, you ready for this?
Hope it clears the carburetor. That's killer oil pressure. Yeah. All right, so there's no problem with the engine at all, except for the fact that the distributor pulled up out of the oil pump drive shaft, which is a new failure I've never seen before, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
Now, the concern is how much did I drive it with no oil pressure at all, and how destroyed is the engine? So I think we need to drain the oil and look at it, and take the oil filter off and cut it open and look at it.
If there's no bearing material in it, I think I'd be confident that it's okay, and it's encouraging that we had a considerable amount of oil pressure on the gauge when we were priming it.
Oh, totally. The motor is great.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get a jack and we'll drain the oil and pull the oil filter off. Okay, clear?
Yep. Ooh, that was a fast drop.
Will you check the drain plug, Steve, and see if that's just Molly or if it's a bunch of goop? I mean, I've got nothing that says death yet, but I'm not making a judgment call yet either.
That's just a bunch of Molly lube.
Okay, good. Where is the plug?
Here.
Thank you.
I think.
Oh, you didn't clean it off?
I did. Well, I could have cleaned it off better, but.
Or at all. All right, here we go with filter. This oil's all looking pretty sweet.
Oh, well. If you dodged the bullet on this one, Freiburger, I'd go get a lottery ticket now.
I know. Remember when we had that Cadillac 500 powered Gremlin and we went out and we loved that Gremmy to death and it was the greatest vehicle ever made? And then I over-revved it and started rod knocking. We thought it might be okay until we chiseled apart the oil filter and took it apart and it was full of bearing material. Well, hopefully that's the only time you're gonna see that scene on Roadkill Garage, because we're about to cut this thing apart and find out if the Crusher Camaro engine is dead or if it will live.
I think it'll be okay. Okay, Freiburger, I can't look.
Okay, here we go. Dude, we got away with this.
Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
I know.
Yeah, whew, the motor is still good.
That is a relief. Steve just pointed out that we got super excited about the fact there was no crud in the oil filter itself, but think about it. If that distributor pushes up out of the block and disengages with the oil pump, then the oil pump is not turning, which means the oil is not being circulated through the filter. And so at the point which the bearings could potentially be damaged from no oil pressure, it's also not moving crud into the filter. So I need to pay really, really careful attention to this oil to see if there's any glitters in it, because the oil filter turns out to not be definitive. I can see just the slightest amount of glitter in there, but honestly, nothing that concerns me even a little bit. All right, so I'm still thinking that the engine is pretty good, which means we can button this thing up and then figure out how to make it faster.
So I was preparing to change the oil filter and I noticed something that I'd heard about, but I'd never seen before. And what happened was, when we removed the old oil filter, the O-ring seal had remained stuck to the block. So if I just climbed under there and spun this filter right on, I would have a double stack of gaskets. And what'll happen is it'll blow out and it'll dump oil everywhere. And it might even leave you on the side of the road with a huge oil leak and a gigantic mess to deal with. So always make that check.
Now I'm gonna fix the one thing that caused this entire debacle, which is this, the slip collar on the MSD Pro Billet distributor. And what this is the stop that sets how deep the distributor goes down into the engine and the gasket sits up against it. Now, why would you want to have this adjustable? Because in some cases you've got engines that have taller and shorter deck heights, or you have aftermarket intake manifolds that have more or less meat on the flange that the distributor seats on. But in this case, what happened was, I think it probably wasn't adjusted right to begin with. And then obviously when it was running, it's got a little bit of thrust and pushed the distributor up, but not the collar. So now that I've got it loose, I'm gonna set the distributor in the engine and bottom it out on the oil pump drive shaft, and then drop this down to see how far it needs to go in order to be sitting in the right place for this engine. Okay, dropped one tier. Oh, there it went down again. Keep going. Okay, I think that must be it. Here's what we just learned. This lower mark is where this collar was initially when we had no oil pressure at all. And this upper mark is how far we got the distributor to go in deeper, engaged into that oil drive shaft. And so now we're gonna have another about 250 thousandths, quarter inch, the distance between those marks of engagement. And so what I'm gonna do is install the collar and lock it down right there on that upper mark.
I might have to rotate the engine while you drop it.
Okay?
I think the engine just wants to torture me.
Keep going. There we go. It just went all the way. I think we're good. Perfect.
All right.
I guess we are lamely gonna call it for the day.
I think we did a lot. We fixed the engine, I think.
Well, yeah, considering I expected the engine to be on a stand in pieces right now, I think we're doing pretty well.
Exactly.
So tomorrow morning, we will throw spark plugs in, fire this thing up, discover that it is perfect, and then I ordered some lightweight speed goodies so we can make this thing even faster once we hit the track on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Done.
Out of here.
World's loudest cat. He's irritated. Happy morning. It's already like 13 degrees or something like that.
It's hot here.
I know. How come we're not up at your shop in the air-conditioned comfort?
No, maybe next time.
Let me talk about spark plug heat range. So the plugs that were in it, which you can see right here that are super black, were heat range 10. On NGK, the higher the number, the colder the plug. The lower the number, the hotter the plug. What it is it's the distance of the cooling path between the tip of the electrode all the way into the water jacket. If you look at this number 10, you can see that it's very, very shallow in there. If you look at the number 8, you can see there's a much longer path from the tip all the way over here to the threads. I would run a 10 with a lot of boost or nitrous or compression. This engine is 10-to-1 and has no power adder, so this 8 is going to be my pick. Dulcich?
I think you chose wisely, Freiburger.
Think it's pretty good?
The 8s will be pretty good, yeah. But on some spark plugs, it's exactly the opposite. The smaller the number, the colder the plug, like Champions.
Like Champions, for example.
Yeah, here's some anti-sneeze.
Good tip.
Ooh, that's way more than I put on.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
All right, I set it at 33 degrees total. You saw he wasn't revving it up. It's because this distributor is locked out. It has no advanced curve in it at all, so the timing is the same at idle as it is at, 7,000 RPM.
Seems fine. The oil pressure seemed good from what I could see.
Yeah, the oil pressure, I was watching that gauge too. I think we can put the electric one back on.
Yeah.
And then we're done with the engine. We can move on to the other speed goodies. So we're gonna try and go quicker by being lighter, and specifically by being lighter from the brake assembly out. I'm gonna try and run a lighter wheel, and of course, this much lighter Wilwood drag racing disc brake assembly. Now, by removing weight out here, I'm doing 2 things. 1, removing unsprung weight, and of course, overall weight in the vehicle. And second of all, rotational weight, because all of this stuff spins. I have to reprimand you and advise you that you really should not use this on the street. These are designed just for drag racing stops. They cannot handle repeated stops because, see, it's not even a vented rotor. This is the disc brake rotor right here, as compared with the stock one, where you can see that there's 2 rotors separated by a whole bunch of vanes. That's for cooling, to prevent warping. This is much lighter, but it is not for street use, and it also has a 2-piece hub, nice billet aluminum center hub, a very lightweight caliper, not designed for more than 1,200 PSI, and some lightweight brackets. One of my big goals at the track tomorrow with this whole lightweight conversion is wheelies. I want to find out if we can actually hang the hoops. It's going to be cool. So the first thing I'm gonna do is open up the inner wheel bearing seal here, and that is gonna tell me quite a bit about whether this is gonna work or not. That looks correct, Dulcich. I think we're gonna be pretty good. Okay, I just verified that the inner wheel bearing seal and the wheel bearings out of this kit match up to this spindle. So now if we can make the caliper mounting bracket work, home run. Okay, so this is gonna weigh almost 37 pounds, 36.5 pounds. And one of these, shoes, hat. Wow, that is 14.5 pounds. So 36 times 2 is 72 pounds. That's 44 pounds off the nose of this thing. That is a big deal. I'm happy with that. What do you think, Dulcich?
I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll pack the wheel bearings, install the seals, and I'll just feed you parts so you can slam it together.
Perfect. We're finally bleeding brakes. I got the whole brake system all assembled. Hopefully we can just bleed the front, not have to touch the back.
Down.
Down.
Oh, I've got bubbles that time.
Okay, holding.
Up.
Up.
Down.
Down.
Up.
Up. We're nearing the end, and here is my final lightweight trick. Check that out. Vintage looking 15 by 4.5 inch slot mags. So we weighed these versus the Cragar SS's that were on there. The Cragar has a steel hoop with a cast aluminum center. These wheels are 7 pounds lighter each. So in all, we've lost 14 pounds worth of wheels and 44 pounds worth of brakes. I hope it makes a difference. And remember, the big thing we'll be looking for tomorrow is wheelies. It's really gonna depend on the track conditions. It's gonna be really, really hot, and the surface temperature is not gonna help, but we're gonna try. Great. You always gotta make sure that the wheel doesn't actually hit the caliper. Even on a combination like this, it can sometimes happen.
Coming down.
Man, life is good. 2 days ago, I thought that I was gonna have the engine of the Crusher Camaro scattered in a million pieces with some kind of disastrous oil pressure problem. But today, here I am at Auto Club Famosa Raceway, just north of Bakersfield, California, and I've got the potential to make the Crusher quicker than it ever has been. Right now, it is about 7:15 in the morning. We talked these guys into coming out and starting to prep the track at 6 a.m. because it is forecast to be like 105 degrees today. And with every degree of temperature that rises, my odds of success on a quick ET go down. So as soon as they get this thing all scraped off and glued up, we're gonna be on track, crossing our fingers for wheel stands and 1050s.
A couple of last minute deals. I figured we won't be needing this seat, so I'm just gonna pull that out.
Another 30 or 40 pounds gone.
Yeah.
Speaking of pounds, I got these things at 12 PSI. They're gonna heat up and probably go all the way to 14 or something, but I'll let them back down after the second pass.
Pre-stage, we've got the pre-stage light on. Now remember, the reaction time doesn't matter. We're just going for a time slip. He's staged. Yeah! That's a big wheelie! Yeah! And on the rev limiter and the light. Yeah! That was a good run. Wow! That thing just skied! Woo! 1070. I think there's more in it. That's not bad for right off the trailer. Woohoo!
Well, that was a good run. It did a good wheelie. It went a little bit left. I think I shifted early, and it hit the rev limiter and the lights, which meant it had good mile an hour, but I believe we have now lost oil pressure. And it won't start. So, yep. Kind of a replay of the last time we were out here. Got a great first pass, and stuff is going wrong.
All right, Freiburger is coming back now. He's getting towed in down the return road. So obviously something's wrong with the car. I'm not sure what. What happened?
Well, what was the number?
You ran a 1070, and you short shifted first gear because you were
badly.
skying the thing, man.
Yeah, it was up in the air. What was a mile an hour? It was on the rev limiter.
122.
That's bad. I think it kicked the distributor completely out of it because it lost oil pressure and it won't start. Let's get it over under the tent.
All right, I'll start pushing.
So the best news that we have here is that my 60-foot time is 1.411. Before, when this car ran its best ET of 1076, the 60-foot time was 1.55. So I've picked up more than a tenth just in 60 feet. The thing hooked up, it pulled the wheels really nice, and I short shifted the thing. So what this all adds up to is the fact that I've got the traction sorted out, I've got the weather right now, but I've got mechanical problems that are keeping me from making horsepower and oil pressure. So if we can fix that really quickly and get back on track before the day is too hot, we have a shot at running significantly better than this. So this is the wire that triggers my MSD ignition on and off, and it was powered through the fuse block, and the thing that we're finding is that the terminal there is just unreliable. The power there is very unsteady and it's low, and so that hopefully is what was leading to me breaking up at the top end. What we're gonna do is bypass all of that junk, run a wire straight from the battery in here to a toggle switch right by the shifter so that we can eliminate any possible malfunction and get it done as quickly as possible. Ready to see if it'll start?
Yeah.
It has oil pressure. I think we're ready to do this again.
All right.
And properly. Here we go, second shot. It's gonna be it.
We've already run the best time the car has ever run, and it's skied on that wheelie. I'm hoping for more. We got a few things fixed. The ignition system didn't have a good power supply, so we'll see what Freiburger does here. I think he stepped on the limiter a little bit on the 1-2 shift.
electrical system on this junk. Like a lot.
1078, okay. It's a few hundred slower than it was on the first pass.
I can tell it still has oil pressure though because the lifters aren't clattering and stuff. It didn't wheelie as hard that time.
Freiburger lost the belt, and there's only one belt on it. It operates the alternator. So we've got at least that to fix because it also runs the water pump, and Freiburger's not gonna be super happy because it's getting hotter and hotter, and you know, Freiburger's hard to please.
1078, slow down.
All right, you lost your fan belt, which runs your water pump. What's your temperature?
It was 180, now it's 210.
Yeah, and it slowed down.
I saw that, and the mile an hour's off. And I lost all electrical at half track. All the gauges blinked out, and I wiggled the key. Look, you can actually hear the fan going on and off as I wiggle the key.
Yeah, the ignition switch is shot.
Ignition switch is junk.
Yeah.
Unreal. The main thing that Steve and I are looking at is our 60-foots are better than they ever have been, but the power is not showing up down track, and we think we need to dial in a little bit more ignition timing. We think that we've got it probably 3 degrees retarded from where it was when we ran 100 and almost 25 miles an hour.
You ready?
Yep. We're ready for our third attempt as the ambient temperature approaches 90 degrees. Now, we've done what I always chastise Dulcich for, what I hate doing, changing more than one thing at the same time, trying to see a performance difference. We've advanced the ignition timing. It's got 36.5 degrees in it now, whereas it had 34 in it before. The second thing that I changed is I raised my starting line RPM from 4,000 to 4,300. And I've got my tires set back to 12 PSI, so we'll give it another shot. Hopefully it'll hook and carry the tires higher than ever before, and finally run an ET quicker than 10.70.
Wow, that sounded pretty strong in the burnout box. I hope we picked up a little bit of horsepower with our adjustment. This is going to be a hopeful run because we're battling the rising temperature.
Yes! Please!
1082. 122, the mile an hour didn't change. So really, we haven't whittled away any time.
That was the cleanest run I've had. Great.
It wasn't too far off on the 60, I mean, but it wasn't better.
Yeah, it's just slowing down.
What did you determine from the driver's seat here?
It felt like the cleanest pass ever. It didn't feel like the best 60-foot. But as far as hitting shift points and never hearing a misfire and everything functioning, it seemed like it was just what it needed to do. Yeah, the mile an hour is down even at the 8th mile. It's not running 100 miles an hour anymore. It's running 98.9.
Oh, wow, that's a big drop.
That's
Timing did nothing for us.
Timing did nothing.
Mm-hmm. Not a washout.
Now, it's just annoying. If you could add up all of your best track segments, the thing would go deep into the 1060s. But it's just not getting there.
Yeah, if you could chop up like a lemon pie, an apple pie, and a cherry pie and put them all on one plate, it'd be pretty tasty.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we might be done for the day.
Huh? Load her up.
So we go home with the best 60-foot ever by a long shot, a huge wheelie, and 1070, which is the best TT ever for the combo.
Yeah.
Can't be mad about that. So what did we learn in this episode? Well, stuff that was completely different than what I expected to learn, because once again, I thought we were gonna have the engine out of the car and probably putting bearings in it or something like that. But instead, I learned all about that slip collar on that distributor and how I can disengage the oil pump. That's a new failure point for me. And when there's a new failure for me, you know you're learning something. But then we also learned about the really lightweight drag brakes from Wilwood. I've never used those solid rotors before, and man, did they make a difference. They were light, and by the way, it stops killer from 120 miles an hour, no issue. I still wouldn't use them on the street, but man, they were really good. And then when you throw like 58 pounds of brakes and tires and wheels off the front of the car, it can do amazing wheel stands. We got our best 60-foot number ever, 1.41 seconds out of the Crusher Camaro. We also had our best ET ever, 1070. Unfortunately, it wasn't everything that I had hoped for. Probably because it is hot out here, and that was killing horsepower, knocking our mile an hour down to 122 from 125, and there was just no recovering from that. So we weren't able to get like that magical 1050 ET that I really wanted. But if I ever do get there, I can bet you one thing, you will see it on Roadkill Garage. I don't know why I bother with all these safety gear. I watch Hot Rod Garage, those guys run 10s and, you know, a t-shirt.
I wanted to get like an award for best jacking scene in a automotive series.
Begging, 'cause I don't wanna lose you. Yeah, yeah, ra-da-da-da. I'm begging, begging you. I put your loving hand out, baby. I'm begging, begging you. I put your loving hand out, darling. I need you to understand. Tried so hard to be a man, the kind of man you want in the end. Only then can I begin to live again. An empty shell I used to be. The shadow for my life was hanging over me. A broken man that I don't know won't even stand the evil chance to win my soul. What we doing? Why we chasing? What the bottom? What the basement? Why we got good shit, don't embrace it? Why the feet for the need to replace me? You the wrong way, track from the good. I wanna paint a picture, telling you we could be out like a heart in the best way shit. You